English Sing-Sing.
The Lion and the Mouse. A lion was sleeping under a tree. A little mouse was playing around the lion.
Squeak! Squeak!
Suddenly, the lion woke up. Roar! Who woke me up? I will eat you! The lion picked up the mouse and opened his mouth.
Oh no! Please don't eat me. If you let me go, I will help you one day.
You? I'm a lion, and you're a mouse. What can you do? The lion laughed. Fine, I'll let you go. The mouse ran away. The next day, the lion got caught in a trap. The mouse, who saw this, ran to the lion. It began to chew the rope. Thank you. You saved my life. From that day, the lion and mouse became best friends.
Fairy tale. The Hare and the Tortoise. There once was a rabbit who always bragged about how fast he was.
Get out of the way! I'm the best!
He would say. He always teased the tortoise for being slow.
I'm the fastest runner in the woods. Why are you so slow?
One day, the tortoise challenged the rabbit to a race.
Let's see who reaches the tree on the hill first, he said.
The tortoise and the hare stood at the starting line for the race.
Ready, set, go!
Said the hare, and they started running. The hare was much faster than the tortoise. At one point, when the hare looked back, he couldn't even see the tortoise. The hare thought to himself,
I'm sure I'll win this race. Why should I hurry? I would rather take a nap here for a while.
While the hare was sleeping, the tortoise kept on going. After a while, when the hare woke up, he saw the tortoise reaching the finish line. The hare rushed towards the finish line as fast as he could, but it was too late. The tortoise had already crossed the line. The tortoise was the winner. Being slow but steady wins the race. It's not over until it's over, the tortoise told the hare. The hare sobbed in shame. Fairy tale. The goose that laid golden eggs. There once lived a poor man in a village. One day, he bought a goose at the market. He thought to himself,
I can eat a goose egg every day from tomorrow onward.
The next morning, the goose laid an egg. The poor man gladly came to see it. But the egg looked different. It was yellow and bright. It was a golden egg. The poor man couldn't believe his luck. The goose laid a golden egg every day. The poor man got a lot of money by selling them. He was no longer a poor man. Now he was a rich man. One day, he said to himself,
I only get one golden egg each day. Why can't I have all the eggs at once? I can't wait to get richer. I will take all the eggs out right now.
The rich and greedy man opened the belly of the goose. But there were no more golden eggs. The man regretted his actions, but it was too late, because the goose that had laid the golden eggs died. The man became poor again soon after. This was the sad story of a stupid, greedy man.
Fairy tale.
The Fox and the Stork. Once there lived a fox and a stork in a neighborhood. One day, the fox invited the stork to eat dinner at his house. The stork went to the fox's house the next day.
Help yourself.
But the food was served on a flat plate. The fox lapped up his delicious meal. However, though very hungry, the stork couldn't eat its food. The stork's beak was too long and pointy to eat it.
What's wrong? Are you full already? Then I'll eat it for you.
The fox took the stork's food and ate it up. The stork, who couldn't eat anything, went back home. A few days later, the stork invited the fox to dinner.
Help yourself.
But this time, the food was served in a bottle with a long neck. The stork dipped its long and pointy beak into the bottle and ate the food. However, though very hungry, the fox couldn't eat its food. The fox's mouth was too short to reach it.
What's wrong? Are you full already? Then I'll eat it for you.
The stork took the fox's food and ate it up. The fox, who couldn't eat anything, went back home.
Fairy tale.
The boy who cried wolf. There was a boy who was keeping sheep on the grass hill. One day, the shepherd boy became so bored. So, he decided to have some fun. He cried out loud,
Wolf! Wolf! There's a wolf!
The villagers who heard this ran to the hill. Wolf? Where is it?
I'm just kidding.
The people went back angry. A few days later, the boy became bored again. So he cried out once more.
Wolf! Wolf! There's a wolf!
The villagers who heard this ran to the hill.
Wolf, where is it?
I'm just kidding. You all got tricked again.
The people went back angry. After a while, a real wolf appeared. The boy was scared and cried out,
Whoa! Wolf! Wolf! There's a real wolf!
but this time, no one came to help. The boy lost all his sheep.
Fairy tale. Goldilocks and the Three Bears. In a small village, there was a girl named Goldilocks. She had golden hair. One day, she went to the forest and found a house.
Knock, knock. Is anybody there?
No one answered, so Goldilocks opened the door. She saw 3 bowls of porridge on the table. She tasted the first bowl.
Oh, this porridge is too hot.
So she tasted the second bowl.
Oh, this porridge is too cold.
Lastly, she tasted the third bowl.
This porridge is just right.
She finished all the porridge in the bowl. Goldilocks saw 3 chairs in the living room. She sat on the first chair.
Oh, this chair is too big.
So she sat on the second chair.
Oh, this chair is also too big.
Lastly, she sat on the third chair.
This chair is just right.
But the chair broke. Goldilocks went upstairs. She lay down on the first bed.
This bed is too hard.
So she lay down on the second bed.
This bed is too soft.
Lastly, she lay down on the third bed.
This bed is just right.
Goldilocks fell asleep. After some time, 3 bears came back to the house. There was Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Baby Bear. The 3 bears saw the table.
Someone's been eating my porridge,
Papa Bear said. Someone's been eating my porridge too, Mama Bear said.
Someone's been eating mine, and it's empty,
Baby Bear said. The 3 bears went to the living room.
Someone's been sitting on my chair,
Papa Bear said. Someone's been sitting on my chair too, Mama Bear said.
Someone's been sitting on mine, and it's broken,
Baby Bear said. The 3 bears went upstairs.
Someone's been laying on my bed,
Papa Bear said. Someone's been laying on my bed too, Mama Bear said.
Someone's been laying on mine, and she's still there,
Baby Bear shouted. Goldilocks woke up and saw the 3 bears.
Ah!
She yelled and ran away. Goldilocks never went back to the forest. Fairy tale.
The North Wind and the Sun. The North Wind said to the Sun,
Guess who is the strongest in the world? It's me. Swoosh.
"Oh, really?" the Sun said. Just then, a traveler wearing a coat walked by. The Sun said, "Let's have a battle. Whoever makes that man take his coat off wins."
That's so easy,
the wind replied. The wind blew the coldest, strongest wind to the traveler.
Why is it so cold?
The traveler held his coat tightly. This time, the sun came out and began to shine.
Phew! It's so hot now.
Soon, the traveler took his coat off. "Now you know who is the strongest," the sun said. The north wind flew away in shame. The salt merchant and his donkey. There once lived a salt merchant. He had a lazy donkey. One day, he was going to the market with salt on the donkey's back. On the bridge, the donkey slipped and fell into the stream. Oops! The merchant pulled up the donkey. But then, the donkey felt that his back was lighter. This was because the salt melted away. Wow! This is a good idea. The lazy donkey was excited. The next day, the donkey slipped into the stream on purpose. Oh my gosh! The salt melted away again! The merchant cried. After a few days, the angry merchant was going to the market again with the donkey. This time, it wasn't salt, but cotton on the donkey's back. Huh, I know how to make this lighter. The donkey splashed back into the stream. But when he came out of the water, he was surprised. The cotton soaked up the water and became so heavy. The donkey cried.
Princess and the Pea. Once upon a time, there was a prince who wanted to marry a real princess. But he could not find a real princess. One stormy night, a knock was heard at the castle gate.
Please, let me in. I'm a princess, and I need a place to sleep.
The prince saw her and fell in love. He asked the queen if he can marry her. But the queen didn't believe that she was really a princess. Well, I have a good idea. She laid a small pea on the bed and piled up 10 soft mattresses on top. That night, the girl slept on the bed. When morning came, the queen asked her how she had slept.
Thank you for your kindness, but I couldn't sleep at all because there was something very hard on my bed. Ouch! My back!
Oh, darling, you are a real princess. So the prince married the princess, and they lived happily ever after.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Christmas was coming to Santa's village. Santa Claus was going to give presents to all the nice children. All the deer wanted to pull Santa's sleigh.
I have long legs. I am the best runner.
I am strong. I can pull the heavy sleigh.
I am pretty. The center should be mine.
The deer were fighting against each other. Then, Rudolph said,
I want to pull the sled too.
Everyone laughed. With that funny red nose? Never! Rudolph felt sad. Christmas finally came. It was foggy all over the world. Santa Claus said, "The weather is too foggy today. What should we do?" Then Santa came up with a good idea. Right! Rudolph can pull the sleigh in front of us. Rudolph's nose will brighten up the foggy roads. Rudolph was so happy. Rudolph became the hero of Christmas.
Beauty and the Beast. Once upon a time, there lived a kind girl named Belle who lived with her father. One day, Belle's father asked Belle,
Belle, what should I bring back from work?
She said, just a single rose. On his way home, Belle's father met a serious storm and landed near a castle. He went in and ate all the delicious foods on the table. He went outside once the storm stopped. In the garden, he saw a beautiful rose and picked it out. Just then, the beast appeared.
Who's taking my precious rose? Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. It's for my daughter. If you want to live, bring that daughter.
Belle's father came home and told Belle what happened. Belle had no choice but to go to the castle alone. Belle was scared of the beast at first. But as time passed by, she started to sense his warm heart. He gave her everything she needed: delicious food, many books, and beautiful flowers. They started falling in love. However, little by little, Belle started missing her father. Beast allowed her to visit him one time. At home, Belle had such a great time with her father. After realizing that she stayed home for too long, Belle went back to see Beast. There, she saw Beast passed out on the ground. Regretting not coming earlier, Belle shed tears of love. At that moment, Beast disappeared and suddenly a very handsome prince appeared. The prince told Belle that he was put on a spell that could only be broken by true love. Belle and the prince got married and lived
happily ever after. Fairy tale.
The Little Mermaid. There once lived a king of the Sea Kingdom. He had 6 daughters, all beautiful mermaids. Princess Ariel, the youngest daughter, was very curious. When Ariel was 15 years old, she went up to the surface of the water. She saw a handsome young prince standing on the deck of a ship. She fell in love with him. One stormy night, the young prince fell off the ship. Ariel saved his life. But he didn't know that. Back home, Ariel missed him a lot. But there was no way for a mermaid to love a human. She went to the witch and begged for help. The witch gave Ariel human legs, but Ariel had to give up her voice. Moreover, Ariel would become bubbles if the prince married another woman. She came back up on land as a beautiful human girl. She was found by the prince and invited to the palace. But the prince was going to marry the princess of a neighboring country. Ariel was very sad but couldn't say anything. The night before the wedding, Ariel's mermaid sisters appeared. They gave her a knife, telling her to kill the prince. Ariel went into the prince's room with the knife, but she couldn't kill him. She turned into bubbles. This was the sad love story of a mermaid who loved a prince.
Peter Pan. Once in London, there lived 3 children: Wendy, John, and Michael. One night, Peter Pan and the fairy Tinker Bell flew into the house through the window. Wendy was surprised. Peter Pan said he came to get his shadow back. Wendy helped him tie his shadow back to his shoes. Peter Pan told Wendy that he was living in Neverland, a dreamland for children who lost their parents. Peter Pan invited Wendy and her brothers to come to Neverland with him. With Tinker Bell's magical fairy dust, they could fly. Besides the Lost Boys, there were also bad pirates and their captain, Captain Hook, in Neverland. When Wendy and her brothers were wandering around Neverland, Captain Hook captured them. Peter Pan flew to Captain Hook's pirate ship to save them just in time. He started a sword fight with Captain Hook. Tick-tock, tick-tock. At that moment, a ticking sound was heard from below. It was coming from an alligator that once swallowed Captain Hook's arm and his watch. Clang, clash, clang, clash. After a long fight, Captain Hook fell off the ship from Peter Pan's finishing stroke. The alligator, waiting there, immediately swallowed him. At last, the children returned home to London, leaving Peter Pan to his everlasting boyhood.
Fairy tale.
Cinderella. Once upon a time, there lived a pretty girl named Cinderella. When she was young, her mother died. Her father remarried a pretty but bad woman. She brought 2 of her daughters into the family. Her stepmother and stepsisters treated Cinderella like a maid. Cinderella had to do all the housework. She only wore dirty clothes. One day, the prince's birthday invitation came. A ball was to be held in the castle. The stepmother and stepsisters dressed up and went to the ball. Left alone at home, Cinderella cried. Suddenly, her fairy godmother appeared. She turned a pumpkin into a carriage, rats into horses, and a lizard into a driver. She also dressed Cinderella in a beautiful dress. Lastly, she gave her glass slippers. The fairy godmother told her to come back before 12 o'clock midnight. Cinderella went to the ball and danced with the prince. It was 12 o'clock midnight. Cinderella hurried down the stairs as one of her glass slippers fell off her foot. The prince found it, and his men searched from door to door for the owner of the glass slipper. Finally, it fit one girl. She was Cinderella. Cinderella and the prince got married and lived happily ever after.
Fairy tale.
Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. Once upon a time, when white snow was falling, a princess as white as snow was born. Her name was Snow White. Sadly, her mother, the queen, died of an illness soon after. Her father, the king, got married again. The new queen was pretty but wicked. She was a witch. She asked the magic mirror every day, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" And the mirror always replied,
"My queen, you are the fairest."
But one day, the mirror answered that Snow White was the fairest of the kingdom. Jealous and angry, the queen ordered a hunter to kill Snow White. However, the hunter couldn't kill Snow White, so he left her in the forest. While wandering around, Snow White found a small house with 7 chairs, 7 plates, 7 beds, and so on. It was the 7 dwarfs' cottage. When the dwarfs returned home, they were surprised to find Snow White. But they decided to let her stay. Meanwhile, the queen found out where Snow White was living. The queen disguised herself as an old woman selling apples. She came to Snow White and gave her a poisoned apple. As soon as Snow White bit into the apple, she fainted. The dwarfs were so sad. They thought she was dead and put her in a glass coffin. One day, a handsome prince was passing through the forest and saw Snow White in the coffin. He leaned down and kissed her on the forehead. At that moment, she opened her eyes. The 7 dwarfs called out,
Hooray!
Everyone was happy. The prince took Snow White to his palace, and they lived happily ever after.
Hansel and Gretel. Hansel and Gretel lived in a cottage with their father and stepmother. Their nasty stepmother said,
Your children eat too much.
One night, their stepmother told their father to abandon them in a forest. Overhearing this, Hansel gathered white pebbles. Their father left Hansel and Gretel in the middle of the deep forest. They followed the white pebbles that Hansel had dropped and came back home. Their stepmother got mad and made their father do it again. This time, Hansel dropped breadcrumbs. But the birds ate all the breadcrumbs. Hansel and Gretel lost their way and wandered through the forest. While wandering, they found a gingerbread house made of sweets. A chocolate roof, candy bar windows, and bread walls. They soon were eating delicious chunks off the house. But the owner of the house was an evil witch. The witch locked Hansel in a cage and ordered Gretel to feed him a lot of food. Thinking of eating a fat boy, the witch checked Hansel's arm to see if he had gotten fat. But clever Hansel noticed that the witch had very bad eyesight. So he stuck out a thin bone instead of his arm.
Why is he still so thin?
The witch wondered. The impatient witch ordered Gretel to heat up the oven to bake Hansel.
I don't know how to do it. Would you show me?
Gretel asked. The witch peeked into the oven to show Gretel.
This is my chance.
Gretel thought. Gretel pushed the witch inside and slammed the oven door shut. That was the end of the witch. Now rich and free, Hansel and Gretel lived happily ever after.
Fairy Tale.
The Little Match Girl. It was a snowy winter night. A poor little girl was walking around the street selling matches. She was dressed in shabby clothes and had no shoes on.
Matches. Please buy my matches.
She was very cold and hungry, but no one bought a single match. She approached a window where warm light was coming out. Inside there was a beautiful Christmas tree, a fireplace, a table full of delicious food, and the happy laughter of families sitting around. The girl was very sad. Tired of being cold and hungry, the girl took out a pack of matches and lit it. At that moment, she saw a fireplace with warm flames coming out. But soon, the match light went out, and the fireplace went away. The girl lit a second match. Delicious food appeared in another bright light. Cake, meat, soup. The girl stretched her hand toward the plate. But the match light went out again, and the girl was back in the dark. The girl sighed and lit a third match. This time, the girl's grandmother appeared.
Oh, Grandma, I've missed you so much. Take me with you.
Grandma nodded with a bright smile. The next morning, people found the girl dead on a street corner. They felt sorry for her, but they didn't notice a faint smile around her mouth.
Fairy Tale. Jack and the Beanstalk. A long, long time ago, a boy named Jack lived with his mother. They were very poor, so Jack's mother told Jack to sell their only cow. On the way to the market, Jack met a mysterious old man. He showed Jack magic beans. Jack traded his cow for the beans and came back home. Jack's mother got angry. She threw the beans out the window. The next morning, Jack saw a huge green pillar going up into the sky. It was a beanstalk.
Wow, they were real magic beans.
Jack climbed up the beanstalk. Above the clouds, there was a giant in a big castle.
Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell a human boy.
After hiding, Jack stole the giant's gold coins. He went up again. Jack stole a chicken that laid golden eggs. he went up one more time. This time, Jack took a magic harp. At that moment, the harp started playing and the giant woke up. He ran after Jack, shouting,
Get him!
Jack quickly climbed back down the beanstalk. He chopped down the beanstalk with an axe. The giant fell to the ground and died. From then on, Jack never went back to the castle again.
Fairy tale.
Little Red Riding Hood. There once lived a sweet little girl in a small village. On her birthday, she received a cape with a red hood from her grandmother. She liked it so much that she always wore it. People called her Little Red Riding Hood. One day her mother said, "Little Red, your grandmother is sick. Take these cookies to her. Go straight without looking away." Walking through the forest, Little Red met a wolf.
I'm visiting my grandmother because she's sick.
Oh, really? Then how about giving her some flowers too?
When Little Red was busy getting some flowers, the wolf ran to her grandmother's cabin and knocked on the door.
Who's there?
Asked Grandma.
It's me, Little Red.
The wolf pretended.
You sound strange.
It's because I caught a cold.
Believing it, Grandma opened the door, and the wolf swallowed the poor old lady whole. The wolf put on Grandma's clothes and got into her bed. Little Red arrived and said,
Grandma, I brought your favorite snacks.
Oh, thank you, dear.
But your voice is different. What's wrong?
It's just because I'm sick.
Well, why are your ears so big?
To hear your voice better.
Why is your mouth so big?
To swallow you up.
At the moment, the wolf gobbled up Little Red Riding Hood. Now that he was full, the wolf fell asleep, snoring loudly. A passing hunter heard it and stepped into the house. Noticing the wolf's giant belly, he thought,
This wolf must have eaten people. I must save them.
The hunter cut open the wolf's belly. Surprisingly, Little Red and her grandmother popped out. They took a lot of stones, put them in the wolf's belly, and sewed it shut. The wolf woke up feeling very heavy. He ran away in pain.
Fairy tale.
The Ant and the Grasshopper. In the green meadow lived an ant and a grasshopper. The ant was always busy working hard. But the grasshopper just sang and played the guitar in the shade. One summer day, the grasshopper saw the ant carrying heavy pieces of food. Curious, the grasshopper asked,
"Why are you working so hard on this hot day?" "I'm storing food for the winter. Winter is cold and we have to prepare now,"
said the ant. The grasshopper didn't understand.
"It's still summer. Why do we have to hurry?"
he thought. Time passed quickly. Now it was autumn, and all the leaves were falling off the trees. The ant worried about the grasshopper. The ant came up to the grasshopper and said,
"Hey, buddy, winter will come soon. Why don't you start getting ready?"
But the grasshopper kept singing and playing the guitar.
"Winter's a long way off,"
he said. Soon, the cold winter came. The green meadow turned into a white field of snow. All the food was gone. The grasshopper aimlessly wandered around in search for food. Very hungry and cold, he felt miserable.
"Oh, how stupid and lazy I was,"
he thought to himself. He regretted not preparing for winter, but it was too late. Fairy tale. The City Mouse and the Country Mouse. There once lived a city mouse and a country mouse. One day, the country mouse invited the city mouse to his place. When the country mouse served a meal to the city mouse was disappointed.
"Is this it? It is nothing more than a few kernels of corn and grain. If you come to my place in the city, I will give you a great feast,"
said the city mouse. The city mouse and country mouse went to the city. When the city mouse served him his meal, the country mouse could not believe his eyes. There was bread, cheese, fruit, and grain. But when the two mice sat down to eat, a cat jumped onto the table. The two mice hurried and hid in a small hole until the cat left. When they were about to eat again, a cook came in. The cook saw them and screamed out,
"Ew! Catch the mice!"
So the two mice rushed inside the hole again. This happened over and over again. After all of this, the country mouse said,
"Goodbye. I am going home where I can enjoy my simple dinner in peace."
Fairy tale. The Ugly Duckling. There once was a mother duck. One day, she was waiting for her eggs to hatch. Crack, crack, crack. One by one, all the eggs hatched except one. This egg was larger and browner than the rest. Finally, a large, ugly-looking bird popped out of the egg. The mother duck was very disappointed. The other ducklings made fun of the ugly one.
You look so ugly. Yeah, you are not like us.
The ugly duckling was so sad. One night, the ugly duckling decided to leave and find a new family who might want him. He walked and walked with hope. When he saw a family of different ducks, he said,
Hello there. You are so ugly. Go away.
All the ducklings said, Okay, bye. He had to waddle off again in search of a nicer family. The next day, the ugly duckling came to a pond filled with a family of geese.
Hello there.
You are so ugly. Go away.
All the goslings said, Okay, bye. Here again, he couldn't stay. With no family, the ugly duckling had to survive the cold winter alone. When spring came, the ugly duckling went into a clear pond and saw a family of the most beautiful birds, swans. He wanted to join them, but didn't dare to ask. Suddenly, a graceful swan came to the ugly duckling.
Oh, how beautiful you are. You have the whitest feathers I have ever seen.
Confused, the ugly duckling looked at his reflection in the water. He was not an ugly duckling at all. He was a beautiful white swan with a long and elegant neck. The swan lived happily with his new swan family. Rapunzel. Once upon a time, there lived a poor husband and wife. The wife got pregnant, but they had nothing to eat. So the husband went to a nearby garden to steal some vegetables. He stole some vegetables from a garden. At that moment, an evil witch appeared.
Who's taking my precious vegetables?
The frightened man asked for forgiveness. The witch said,
In return for food, you must give me the baby when it's born.
When the wife had a beautiful baby girl, the witch took her away. She named her Rapunzel. Rapunzel grew up to be a beautiful girl with long blonde hair. The witch locked Rapunzel in a very tall castle tower. Whenever the witch visited the castle, she shouted,
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair.
Then she could climb up the tower using the hair as a rope. One day, as a prince was passing by the tower, he heard a beautiful voice singing a sad melody. While he was wandering in curiosity, he saw the witch go up. So he did the same. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. Reaching the top, the prince was surprised to find a beautiful girl. The two fell in love at first sight. Rapunzel wanted to escape from the castle and marry the prince. But soon, the witch found everything out. Angered, she cut Rapunzel's long hair and sent her far away. Not knowing this, the prince came to the castle again. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. But it was the witch who was waiting for him. When he was almost at the top, she let go of the hair. The prince fell down into a thorn bush and hurt his eyes. He became blind and wandered around the forest, looking for Rapunzel. Finally, they found each other. She shed tears in the prince's eyes. Miraculously, the prince was able to see again. The prince took Rapunzel to his castle and married her. Fairy tale.
The Frog Prince. Once upon a time, there lived a beautiful princess. On the princess's birthday, she received a golden ball from her father. She liked the ball so much that she always played with it. One day, she dropped it into a well by accident. She was so sad that she burst out crying. Suddenly, a frog showed up out of nowhere and said,
"Don't cry, princess. I'll get it out for you. In return, you'll have to be friends with me. Eat and sleep together with me."
The princess agreed because she wanted to get the golden ball back as soon as possible. So, the frog got the golden ball from the bottom of the deep well. The princess was delighted and ran back to the palace with the ball. The next day, the frog came to the palace and said,
"Princess, let me eat with you. You promised."
The princess turned away, but her father scolded her. "If you've made a promise, you must keep it." Unwillingly, the princess ate and played with the frog. At night, the frog jumped into the princess's bed.
"Please, kiss me goodnight."
The princess hated it, but she kissed the frog's cold, damp cheeks.
I can't stand it any longer.
She threw the frog off the bed. At that moment, a handsome prince appeared out of nowhere. "I am the prince of the neighboring country." I became a frog by an evil witch's spell. Thanks to you, the spell has been broken. Will you marry me?" The princess felt sorry for what she had done, but nodded shyly. They got married and lived happily ever after.
The Prince and the Pauper. Long ago, in a kingdom, there was a son born to a king and queen. He was named Edward. On the same day, a son was born to a very poor family. He was named Tom. Prince Edward was treated very well, with lots of food and clothes. But for Tom, it was the opposite. His father made him beg for food on the streets. One day, Tom saw a huge palace. He wanted to go in, but the guard stopped him because he was wearing dirty, ragged clothes. "You cannot enter this palace. Go away, you little rat." Prince Edward saw this and said,
Why is there screaming?
"Your Highness, this pauper boy is trying to enter the palace."
Even though he's a pauper, he's still one of my people.
Prince Edward brought Tom into the palace and gave him some food. He suggested Tom to switch clothes because he wanted to go out. Tom couldn't do anything but agree. Surprisingly, they looked like twins. Prince Edward headed outside of the palace. Tom's father, who thought Prince Edward was Tom, dragged him back to their house. He beat him every day and made him beg for money. Meanwhile, Tom tried to convince the servants that he wasn't Prince Edward. However, no one believed him and thought he was ill. One day, Prince Edward bumped into Knight Hendon. Believing his story, Knight Hendon decided to help him go back to the palace. On that day, the king had died, and Tom was about to be crowned as the new king. When he was receiving the crown, Knight Hendon bursted in with Prince Edward.
Wait! I am the real Prince Edward, not him.
Everyone didn't believe in him, so Tom said,
He is right. He is the real prince.
Prince Edward took out the royal seal to prove that he was the prince. Everyone believed them, and Prince Edward was crowned as the king. Touched by Tom's honesty, he let him become his chief advisor and awarded Knight Hendon. They ruled the country together and lived happily ever after.
Fairy tale.
The Bremen Town Musician. There was an old donkey. His master stopped feeding him because he was weak.
I must go to Bremen. I'm going to become the best musician there.
The donkey found an old hound dog by the road. I'm old now, and I don't have the speed to run anymore. I'm useless.
Come on, come with me to Bremen and make a music band.
The dog followed the donkey. After a while, they met an old cat.
I'm too old to catch mice. I'm useless.
Come on, come with us to Bremen and make a music band.
The cat followed the donkey and dog. After a while, this time, they met a chicken.
My owner is going to eat me tomorrow.
Come on, come with us to Bremen and make a music band.
So the chicken followed the donkey, dog, and cat. In the forest, they found a cabin. In the cabin, they saw some bandits eating delicious food.
I have a good idea,
said the donkey. The donkey stood first. Then the dog climbed onto the donkey. Then the cat climbed onto the dog. Then the chicken flew onto the cat. They were like a tall monster. 1, 2, 3. Nay! Woof!
Meow. Cock-a-doodle-doo!
The animals screamed all together. The bandits ran away. The animals ate all the food in the cabin. Meanwhile, one of the bandits came back to the cabin. As soon as he entered the cabin, the cat jumped in and scratched his face. The dog bit his legs. The chicken picked onto his hair. Finally, the donkey kicked him with its legs. The bandit ran away screaming. There must be a monster in the cabin! The bandits gave up the house in fear and went far away. The animals lived happily ever after, singing and dancing in the cabin.
Fairy tale.
The Happy Prince. In a faraway village, there stood a statue of a young prince. It was made of gold and all kinds of jewelry. People called it Happy Prince because of its beauty and splendor. In winter, a bird seeking shelter landed on the Happy Prince. When it saw the prince crying, it was surprised.
Happy Prince, why are you crying?
I am so sad because I can see many poor people from up here. Will you help me help them?
The prince asked the bird to take his ruby to a poor woman. She was taking care of her baby, but there was nothing for them to eat. The bird removed the ruby from the prince's sword and gave it to the woman. The next morning, the prince said to the bird,
"There's a poor writer living without food. Will you help me again?"
The bird removed the emerald from the prince's eye and gave it to the poor writer. The next day, the prince asked the bird for help once again.
"There's a poor girl who dropped all the eggs she had to sell. Will you help me for the last time?"
The bird removed the emerald from the prince's other eye and gave it to the poor girl. Though very tired and cold, the bird stayed with the prince. It removed the gold off of the prince's body and continued to help the poor people. The appearance of the prince grew uglier. In time, the bird died, and the ugly statue was thrown into a fire. But the prince's beautiful mind never turned to ashes. Truly, he was a happy prince.
Fairy tale: The Wolf and the 7 Little Goats. 7 baby goats and a mother goat were living happily in a cabin. One day, as the mother goat left the cabin, she told the baby goats, "Do not open the door to anyone." The baby goats answered,
Don't worry, Mother.
After a while, a wolf came to the cabin and knocked on the door.
Kids, your mom's here. Open the door.
But the youngest goat shouted,
Don't open the door. Listen to the harsh voice. It's not Mom.
When the wolf heard this, he knocked on the cabin again with a soft voice.
Kids, your mom's here. Open the door.
The youngest goat shouted,
No. Look at that black feet under the door. It's not Mom.
When the wolf heard this, he poured white flour on its feet.
Kids, your mom's here. Open the door.
Oh, it must be Mom.
The baby goats finally opened the door. The wolf jumped in and swallowed the baby goats one by one. After the wolf left, the mother came back. Then the youngest goat came out of the alarm clock.
Mom, the wolf ate all my brothers.
The mom goat went out looking for the wolf. When she found the wolf sleeping, she cut the wolf's belly open. All the baby goats popped out from the wolf's big belly. She filled the wolf's belly with stones. When the thirsty wolf woke up, it went to a well. As it bowed down to drink the water, splash! It fell into the well.
Fairy tale.
The Naked King. There was a king who was more interested in clothes than his kingdom. He spent a lot of money and time buying new clothes. One day, two young tailors appeared and suggested making the most beautiful clothes for him. But they told him that the clothes were not visible to fools. Over time, the king was very curious about the clothes the tailors made, so he ordered his servants to go and check. One of the servants was surprised to see there weren't any clothes. The servant didn't want to look stupid, so he lied and said that beautiful clothes were being made. The other servants lied as well, using the same reason. Eventually, the king came to check himself, but he could not see any new clothes. He was afraid that the people would think he was a fool. So he just pretended to be satisfied with his new clothes. Of course, the tailors were crooks. The dressed king, actually naked, went out into the streets. In the eyes of everyone, the king was wearing nothing. But they said the king's new clothes were cool. Everyone was afraid they would look stupid otherwise. Then a little boy shouted,
The king is naked!
The people and the king realized the truth. The king was embarrassed.
Fairy tale.
The Red Shoes. A girl named Karen lived with her ill single mother. After her mother passed away, she was adopted by a kind old lady. The old lady gave her money to buy a new pair of black shoes. But Karen bought a pair of luxurious red shoes instead. Karen liked her new shoes so much. She wore them to church and even to a funeral. The old lady said,
That's very disrespectful. Never do that again, please.
But the next Sunday, Karen wore them again to church.
I don't care what anyone says. I will wear whatever I want, she said.
When she was entering the church, a mysterious old soldier appeared. He tapped the shoes, whispering,
Dance forever, red shoes.
At that moment, Karen's feet started dancing. She continued to dance night and day through fields, woods, and thorny bushes. Karen's legs were badly hurt, and she became exhausted. Desperately, she tried to stop dancing, but she couldn't. Karen found an executioner and asked him to take her shoes off. He did so and made her a pair of wooden crutches. The red shoes disappeared, dancing down the way. She regretted her actions and went back home. Karen never wore the red shoes again.
Fairy tale.
The Pied Piper of Hamelin. A long time ago, there was a small city named Hamelin in Germany. Unfortunately, the city was infested with rats. The rats ate up people's food and bit babies in their cradles. The people released cats to kill the rats. But the rats even threatened the cats. Then, one day, a mysterious man with a pipe in his hand showed up and came to the mayor.
I'll get rid of the rats. When I do, give me a lot of money.
Of course I will. Just as long as you get rid of the rats,
the mayor promised. Standing in the city square, the man began to play the pipe. Magically, rats from all over the city began to follow him. Playing the pipe, he went to the river and entered the water. All the rats also went into the water after him. Eventually, the rats all drowned. People watching this were amazed and cheered.
Give me the reward as you promised,
the piper said. But the mayor changed his mind.
All you did was just play some tunes. I can't give you the money.
The piper was very angry.
You'll regret not keeping your promise.
After a while, the piper came back and began to play the pipe again. This time, children gathered one by one and all followed the mysterious sound. While playing the pipe, he entered a large cave in the deep forest with all the children following. And after that day, no one heard from the children again.
Fairy tale.
The Gingerbread Man. Once upon a time, an old woman decided to make a special gingerbread cookie. She cut the dough into a boy shape and decorated it. Eyes with chocolate, mouth with frosting, and buttons with raisins. She put it in the oven. After some time, she opened the oven door and pop! The gingerbread man jumped out and started running.
Run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the Gingerbread Man. Oh, stop there, Gingerbread Man.
She started chasing the gingerbread man. A cow saw the gingerbread man running. It said,
Stop there, gingerbread man. I want to eat you.
Run, run, as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man.
The old woman and cow chased after the gingerbread man. A pig saw the gingerbread man running. It said,
Stop there, gingerbread man. I want to eat you.
Run, run, as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man.
The old woman, cow, and pig chased after the gingerbread man. A chicken saw the gingerbread man running. It said,
Stop there, gingerbread man. I want to eat you.
Run, run, as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man.
The old woman, cow, pig, and chicken chased after the gingerbread man. Finally, the gingerbread man reached the wide river. This time, a fox appeared and said,
I'll help you cross the river. Get on my tail.
The gingerbread man rode on the tail. As the river got deeper, the fox said,
Come up to my back. There's no water on it.
The gingerbread man hopped onto the back. As the water got deeper and deeper, the fox said,
Come up on my head. There's no water on it.
The gingerbread man hopped onto the head. When its head got wet, the fox said,
Come up to my nose. There's no water up there.
And as soon as the gingerbread man got up his nose, the fox flipped the gingerbread man and threw it up into the sky. The gingerbread man fell right into the fox's mouth. 5 peas in a pod. There were 5 peas in a green pod. Their world was all green and cozy. As time went by, the pod became too small for the peas to live in.
I want to get out of here. How big is the world outside?
The 5th pea thought to himself,
I want to be helpful to this world. What can I do?
Pop! The pod finally burst. A boy picked up the 5 peas. He shot the peas far away with his slingshot.
Yahoo! I'm flying to the farthest place in the world.
The first pea shouted.
I'm going to fly to the sun.
cried the second pea. The third and fourth pea said,
We just want to sleep anywhere.
The fifth pea just thought to himself,
I just wish I could do anything helpful to the world.
The fifth pea flew far away and landed in front of an attic window. Inside the attic lived a poor mother and sick girl. One day, the girl saw the green pea sprouting by the window.
What's that?
It must be a pea sprout.
Oh, it's so beautiful. How can a pea sprout from this small crack?
Day after day, the sick girl watched the pea grow. The pea opened its leaves and buds, and the girl looking at it got healthier.
Mom, I think I'm getting well.
Oh, this green pea must be very special. When the flowers bloomed, the girl finally recovered from the illness. The fifth pea's wish came true. Fairy tale.
A dog of Flanders.
Far away in a small village, a boy named Nello lived with his grandfather. Nello's grandfather worked hard as a milkman. They were poor but loved each other. One day, Nello and his grandfather found an abandoned dog. They took good care of it. Nello called it Patrash. Nello also had a kind girlfriend, Alois. Yet, Alois's father hated Nello, so he told Alois not to play with him. Nello's grandfather became ill and was unable to work. Nello had to work as a milkman instead of his grandfather. It was hard, but he did his best. Nello was very good at drawing and always loved it. He dreamed of becoming a great painter like Rubens someday. He tried to win a prize at a local art exhibition, but he failed. His grandfather finally passed away. Nello was kicked out of his house. He couldn't even take care of Patrash anymore. So Nello left Patrash to Alois, but Patrash fled Alois's house and ran back to Nello. Nello was happy to see Patrash, but they were so cold and hungry. Eventually, they fell to their death in front of a great painting by Rubens. Fairy tale.
Hans in luck. Hans was an ordinary little man who worked for his master for 7 years. One day, he said, "Master, I must leave to see my mother. Please give me my 7 years' wages." The master gave him a big piece of gold. Hans happily started his way. But as he walked and walked, the gold felt very heavy. Just then, he saw a horseman riding his horse on the road. Hans wanted to ride the horse. The horseman said, "Young man, why are you walking? If you give me the gold, I will give you my horse." Hans immediately exchanged the gold for the horse. "Yes, how lucky am I! I'm so happy!" As soon as Hans rode the horse, it suddenly started galloping madly. "Oh my gosh! Stop it!" A shepherd with a cow stopped the horse. Hans said, "You're so lucky. Your cow isn't crazy like my horse. Also, it gives you milk and butter." The shepherd said, "If you give me your horse, I will give you my cow." Hans immediately exchanged the horse for the cow. "Yes, how lucky am I! I'm so happy!" Just like this, Hans exchanged the cow for a pig, and the pig for a goose. When Hans was carrying the goose on the road, he spotted a grinder singing. The grinder said, "Do you want to be happy like me? If you give me the goose for this grindstone, you will become a rich man. You will truly be the happiest." At last, Hans exchanged his goose for a grindstone. "Yes, how lucky am I! I'm so happy!" After a little while, he accidentally dropped the grindstone into a well. However, Hans was still happy, because then he didn't have anything to carry. No one here is as lucky as I am. I am the happiest man. With a light heart, Hans ran back home to his mother.
Fairy tale.
Aladdin and the Magic Lamp. Once upon a time, there was a poor boy named Aladdin. One day, a suspicious merchant came up to Aladdin on the street. He said,
Can you help me find a magic lamp? I'll make you rich if you do so.
Aladdin agreed to go, but he did not know that the merchant was an evil wizard. Once they arrived in front of a cave, the wizard chanted a spell. The cave door opened, and Aladdin slid down the steep slope. In the cave were gold, silver, and all kinds of treasures. Among those was a magic lamp glowing in the dark. Aladdin grabbed it and tried to get out of the cave.
Let me out!
Give me the lamp first.
No, not until you get me out.
The angry wizard closed the cave door and left. Aladdin rubbed the dusty lamp in sadness. At that moment, Genie popped out.
Master, I am here to grant 3 wishes of yours. Make your first wish.
Take me home.
At your command, Master.
Right after this, a magic carpet flew in and carried him back home. Back home, Aladdin rubbed the magic lamp again.
Master, what do you want this time?
I want a fancy palace filled with riches.
At your command, Master.
Now, Aladdin was the richest man in the city. He got married with the princess. The evil wizard, who heard all of this, was deeply angered. He went to the princess, acting like an old merchant. He exchanged the magical lamp with a regular one. The evil wizard rubbed the lamp and made a wish.
Give me Aladdin's palace and the princess.
At your command, Master.
Aladdin, hearing this news, sneaked into the evil wizard's palace while he was asleep. He stole the lamp and rubbed it.
Yes, my master. What is your last wish?
Take that evil wizard far away.
At your command, Master.
The evil wizard was never to be found again. Aladdin rescued the princess and lived happily ever after in the palace.
Fairy tale. The Snow Queen. In a world high above the sky, there was a magical mirror. This mirror made everything reflected in it seem wicked. One day, the mirror shattered and the pieces fell into the world below. Kay and Gerda were best friends. They were listening to Gerda's grandmother on a snowy winter night. She told the story of a beautiful but evil snow queen who had an icy heart. Gerda said, "Oh, I'm scared."
Come, Snow Queen, I'll let you melt by the fireplace,
said Kay. The Snow Queen, who overheard this, became furious. She flung a piece of the magical mirror into Kay's eye. From then on, Kay turned rude and nasty. The Snow Queen appeared and took Kay to her castle. Saddened, Gerda set off to find Kay. On her way, Gerda met a woman with a beautiful garden and asked if she had seen Kay. She was a lonely witch, so she erased Gerda's memory with a magic comb in order to keep her. But then, Gerda found a rose, and the memories of playing with Kay came to her. She went off to find Kay. A crow said that Kay married the princess. Gerda went to the princess's castle, but found out that the man wasn't Kay. But the princess and the prince were impressed by Gerda's story and gave her a golden coach to help her find Kay. Hearing from some pigeons that Kay was with the Snow Queen, she headed north. But Gerda's coach was stopped by some bandits. The bandit's daughter was fascinated after hearing Gerda's story. The robber girl gave Gerda her fastest reindeer. On the way to the castle, she met two old women, and they said Gerda had the most precious thing. It was pure love. At last, she arrived at the Snow Queen's castle. Kay didn't recognize Gerda at first. Gerda just shed tears. As soon as her tears fell on Kay's eye, Kay regained his memory. They escaped from the Snow Queen's palace and returned home and lived happily ever after. Fairy tale. The Three Little Pigs. Once upon a time, there lived three little pig brothers. The three brothers decided to build their own houses. First, the eldest pig built his house out of straw.
It's light and easy to get from anywhere.
The second pig built his house out of wood.
A tree can build a strong enough house.
But the youngest pig started to pile up bricks.
I'm going to build a house out of bricks. It'll take a long time and a lot of effort, but it'll be worth it.
The eldest and second pig finished building their houses and laughed at the youngest.
Look at him. He's still building his house.
Eventually, the youngest pig completed his house. Then, one day, a large, hungry wolf came into the village. He headed to the eldest pig's straw house.
Little pig, let me in.
Not by the hair on my chinny chin chin.
Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in.
Then all the straw flew away, destroying the house. The eldest rushed into his brother's wooden house. The wolf followed him.
Little pig, let me in.
Not by the hair on my chinny chin chin.
Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in.
The wood house fell apart. So the second and eldest pig rushed into the youngest brother's brick house. The wolf followed them.
Little pig, let me in.
Not by the hair on my chinny chin chin.
Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in.
But the brick house didn't shake at all. So the wolf jumped into the chimney. But the youngest pig quickly lit the fireplace. The wolf burned to death. The 3 pigs lived in the brick house happily ever after. Fairy tale.
Pinocchio. Long ago, there was a carpenter named Geppetto. He was so lonely and wanted a child. One day, he carved out a wooden puppet and gave it the name Pinocchio. He always wished that Pinocchio was a real boy. One night, while Geppetto was asleep, a fairy came and gave Pinocchio life. Now he was a living wooden boy. The fairy said,
Pinocchio, if you prove that you are kind and brave, someday you will become a real boy.
When Geppetto saw Pinocchio the next morning, he was very happy. Soon, Pinocchio had to go to school. Geppetto handed a few coins to Pinocchio.
Buy some school supplies with this money,
Geppetto said. On his way to school, Pinocchio was distracted by a puppet show. He paid all the coins he had and entered the show. He began dancing and dancing with the puppets. The showmaster, who got impressed, locked him in a birdcage.
Please, let me go. I must go to school, and my father is waiting for me. Please.
The showmaster felt bad and let Pinocchio get out. He also gave him 5 coins. But on his way home, he met a cunning fox and cat. The fox said,
Little boy, if you plant those coins under a tree and take a nap, you will get many more when you wake up.
Naive Pinocchio dug a hole, tossed the coins into the hole, and went to sleep. When he woke up, the coins were gone.
Oh no! Where did my coins go?
Just then, the fairy appeared.
Pinocchio, why are you here? Oh, I just lost my way back home.
Suddenly, Pinocchio's nose started getting longer. The fairy said,
I know you are lying. Your nose will grow longer whenever you lie. I'm sorry. Honestly, I didn't go to school. I lost all my coins, too.
As he was saying the truth, his nose grew shorter. On the road back home, Pinocchio met a boy.
Pinocchio, let's go to Funland. We will have so much fun.
Pinocchio followed the boy to Funland. Pinocchio and the boy played and played. But suddenly, he found his ears starting to grow. A tail popped out of his butt. Soon, he became a donkey.
Honk. Oh no, honk. What is going on with me?
Pinocchio ran away from Funland. As he dived into the sea, he changed back into a wooden boy. In the water, a whale swallowed Pinocchio. Inside the belly, Pinocchio found his father, Geppetto.
Oh, Pinocchio! I have been searching for you all day and night until this whale swallowed me.
Father, I missed you. I promise I will be a good boy from now on.
How do we escape from here?
I have a good idea.
Pinocchio gathered some wooden boards and made a fire. The whale threw up, and out came Pinocchio and Geppetto. The two safely made it back home. Later, the fairy appeared again and said,
Pinocchio, since you have a kind heart now, you may become a real boy.
Pinocchio transformed into a real boy and lived happily together with Geppetto.
Thumbelina. Once upon a time, there lived a kind-hearted woman with no children. She always wanted to have a beautiful child. One day, a fairy appeared in front of the woman. The fairy handed her a seed, saying, "Something special will happen if you plant this seed." She took great care of the seed, and after some time, a flower bloomed. And surprisingly, inside the flower sat a pretty little girl as small as a thumb. "Oh, my wish came true. You're my precious little child. I will call you Thumbelina." The woman made a cozy bed with a walnut shell and a blanket with a flower petal. But one night, a toad came through the open window and kidnapped Thumbelina.
You're so pretty. I want you to be my son's wife.
The toad placed Thumbelina on a lotus leaf. But Thumbelina didn't want to be the bride of the ugly toad. When Thumbelina was crying, some fishes nibbled the lotus stem and freed her. Thumbelina stepped onto land, and soon a beetle found her. The beetle took her to his friends.
You look so weird. Yeah, why do you have 2 legs and no wings?
The beetles left her alone in the forest. When winter came, she wandered through the forest and came upon a field mouse's house. After a while, the field mouse introduced a mole to Thumbelina and told her to marry him. Thumbelina didn't want to marry a mole and spend a whole life in the dark. She was crying helplessly outside the house. Then she found a bird that had been hurt and lying in the cold. She took great care of it.
Oh, thanks. You're such a kind girl,
the bird said. Soon the bird recovered and flew to the warm south with Thumbelina on her wings. They landed on a beautiful field where all kinds of flowers bloomed in warm sunlight. There, Thumbelina saw a prince that was as small as her.
I think we are a match made in heaven. Would you marry me?
They got married in the beautiful field and lived happily ever after.
Fairy tale.
The Little Prince. Far away in space, there lived the little prince on a small asteroid called B612. He took good care of his asteroid by picking out baobab tree roots and cleaning his 3 volcanoes. To the little prince, there was a beautiful red rose that he loved. They were always together. But Rose started demanding the little prince for attention. Rose said,
Little Prince, why aren't you taking care of me when I'm this beautiful? But I have other things to look after.
One day, the little prince, who was tired of this, decided to leave. He watered Rose and covered her with a glass case. Rose acted like she wasn't sad and waved goodbye as he left. On the first planet lived a greedy king. The king tried to make the little prince his servant, so the little prince left. On the second planet lived a flatterer. He kept on asking little prince to clap for him, which little prince did, but soon got tired. On the third planet, there was a drunkard who kept on drinking and drinking. He told little prince that he was drinking to forget the shame of drinking. On the fourth planet, he met a greedy businessman. On the fifth planet, there was a man who lighted street lamps. On the next planet he landed on, there was a geographer who told him to go to Earth. So the little prince went to Earth. The first thing he saw on Earth was a yellow snake. The snake told him that he was in a desert. After a while, the little prince went to a flower garden full of roses. He became sad because he realized that the rose on his planet wasn't the only rose. A fox appeared in front of the sad little prince.
If you tame me, then we shall need each other. If you come at 4 o'clock, I will be happy from 3 o'clock.
Then the little prince thought about the rose on his planet and realized that it was special to him. The fox also said,
The essential things in life are not seen with the eyes, but with the heart.
After the fox, the little prince met a pilot who was fixing his plane in the desert. He asked the pilot to draw him a sheep. The annoyed pilot drew a picture from his childhood. Seeing the drawing, the little prince said,
This is a boa that swallowed an elephant. I want a picture of a sheep.
The pilot was delighted that the little prince understood his drawing at once. So this time he drew a real sheep. Although he drew pictures of the sheep again and again, the little prince wasn't satisfied. Finally, the pilot drew a box, saying, The sheep is in this box. The little prince was very fulfilled. After this, they started their way to search for a well.
What makes the desert beautiful is that somewhere it hides a well.
At last they found the well. And now the little prince had to go back to his planet.
Look up to the stars whenever you miss me.
As soon as he said this, a snake appeared and bit his ankle. Then he became fainter and fainter until he disappeared. The Wild Swans. Long time ago, in a kingdom lived a beautiful princess named Elisa and 11 handsome princes. They were happy until the king got married to a stepmother. She was actually an evil witch. She hated Elisa and the princes. With her magic spell, the princes turned into wild swans. Elisa was also kicked out. Elisa saw 11 wild swans flying in the sky. When the sun started to set, they turned back into the princes. The next morning, they were swans again. They made a large net and carried Elisa to the forest. When she was asleep, dreaming, a goddess appeared and said,
"If you want to break the magic spell, make 11 sets of clothes out of nettles. Then dress the swans one by one. But if you say a word before you finish, your brothers will die."
Elisa started to make the clothes for her brothers. Though the nettles hurt her fingers to bleed, she never took a rest. One day, a neighboring king saw Elisa in the forest and fell in love. He took her to his palace. Even in the palace, Elisa was busy weaving her brother's clothes while not saying a word. The archbishop of the country suspected Elisa as a witch, but the king did not listen. One night, when the nettles ran out, Elisa went to the cemetery to pick them up. The archbishop of the country saw it all and became sure that she was a witch. The king couldn't help but agree to put her to death. Elisa couldn't say any words and only concentrated on her work. On the morning of the execution day, her work came near to close. At the last moment, 11 swans appeared from the other side. Finally, Elisa finished 11 sets of nettle clothes. As soon as she threw them to the swans turned into human princes. The king and Elisa got married, and with them, the 11 princes lived happily ever after.
Fairy tale. Puss in Boots. There was once a poor miller who had 3 sons. Before he died, he gave his mill to the eldest son, a donkey to the second, and a cat to the youngest.
After I eat my cat, I will eventually die of hunger.
The youngest son cried.
Master, please don't eat me. If you give me a pair of boots, I will make you happy and rich,
the cat said. The youngest son decided to believe the cat and gave him a pair of boots. The cat jumped into the boots and ran into the forest. He hunted rabbits and took them to the king.
Your Majesty, these are a present from the Marquis of Carabas,
said the cat. The king was very pleased. Later, the king and princess were about to pass by the riverside. The cat, who heard about this, said,
Master, go into the river and take a bath.
The son took his clothes off and went into the river. Just then, the king's coach was passing by.
Help! Help! My Lord Marquis of Carabas was robbed and has been left with no clothes.
The king gave nice suits to the young man and offered him a ride. The cat went on ahead and said to the farmers working in the field,
Hey, people, if anyone asks you whose field this is, say it belongs to Marquis of Carabas. If you do,
I will kill the ogre for you." The king asked the farmers whose field it was.
It belongs to the Marquis of Carabas,
they answered. At last, the cat came to the castle. It was ruled by the scary ogre. The cat asked the ogre, "Can you change into a big animal?"
Ha ha ha! That's so easy,
said the ogre, and he changed into a big lion. The cat then said, "But you can't turn into a small mouse." The ogre changed into a mouse. At that moment, gulp! The cat ate up the mouse. Then the cat invited the king to the castle and said, "This is the castle of the Marquis of Carabas." Later, the Marquis of Carabas got married to the princess. The cat became the Knight of Carabas. They all lived happily ever after.
Fairy tale.
The Sleeping Beauty. Once upon a time, a king and queen gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. They invited the people and fairies from all over the kingdom to celebrate their baby's birth. The fairies gave their blessings and precious gifts to the baby princess. The first fairy said, "You shall be the most beautiful in the kingdom." The second one said, "You shall be the wisest in the kingdom." The third one said, "You shall be the most warm-hearted in the kingdom." When the fourth fairy was about to give her blessing, an evil fairy entered the room and said,
"Ha! It's me, the most powerful fairy in your kingdom. How dare you don't invite me to your party?"
She then cursed the princess.
On the princess's 16th birthday, she will prick her finger on a spinning wheel and die forever.
After saying these words, the evil fairy left the room. When the king and queen were in despair, the fourth fairy said,
"Oh, I cannot break the curse, but I can help. When the princess pricks her finger on the spinning wheel, she will not die, but fall into a deep sleep. This curse may only be broken by a true love's kiss."
The king was so afraid of losing his daughter. So he ordered his servants to destroy every spinning wheel in the kingdom. Time passed by, and the princess's 16th birthday came. When she was wandering around the castle, she found an old tall tower and went inside with curiosity. There, she found an old lady spinning a spinning wheel.
"What are you doing?"
"I'm spinning beautiful clothes. Do you want to try?" When the princess reached out her finger to try,
Ouch!
she pricked her finger on the sharp needle. She immediately fell into a deep, deep sleep. The whole kingdom was filled with grief. The fourth fairy thought that she should make the entire kingdom fall into a deep sleep with the princess.
Close your eyes, my king and queen. Close your eyes, my loving people, for you shall sleep and wait for the princess's true love.
All the people in the kingdom fell into a deep sleep. A forest started growing in the castle, and everything was covered by trees and thorn bushes. After many years, a prince was passing through the forest. He saw the princess lying in the forest and fell in love. He gently kissed her on the lips. At that moment, the curse was broken. The princess and all the kingdom woke up from their long sleep. The prince and princess were married and lived happily ever after.
The Elves and the Shoemaker. There once was a poor but warm-hearted shoemaker and his wife. The shoemaker sighed. I only have enough leather to make one pair of shoes. He cut them out and left the pieces on his work table. He then went to sleep. The next morning, a new pair of beautifully made shoes were on the table. My goodness! What is all this? After a while, a customer came in and saw the shoes.
Oh! These shoes are the nicest shoes I've ever seen. I'll pay you double the price if you let me buy this.
The shoemaker bought leather for 2 pairs of shoes. He left it on the table once more. The next morning, 2 pairs of neatly made shoes were waiting for him. Who could make such fine shoes? Thank you, whoever you are. Customers came in and paid more money. And again, the man bought more leather. But this time, he said to his wife,
Let's hide tonight and find out who has been helping us.
They waited behind the door. Just then, 2 elves came in dancing. Their little hands stitched, sewed, and hammered the whole night to make the shoes.
Ripple-tap-tap, ripple-tap-tap. We will help the poor shoemaker and his wife, too.
After finishing the shoes, they quickly disappeared. The shoemaker's wife said,
I want to give these elves a memorable gift.
The shoemaker sewed tiny shoes, and his wife stitched lovely little suits for the elves. They put it on the table and waited behind the door. The 2 elves appeared again. But this time, they didn't find any leather on the table, but nice clothes and shoes just their size.
Yippee! I love these! It's time to go now and help other people.
They happily skipped and danced their way out. From that day on, they were never seen again. But the shoemaker never became poor again.
Fairy tale.
The Wizard of Oz. Long ago, Dorothy and her dog Toto were living in a small house in Kansas. One day, a huge cyclone attacked their house. The house spun and landed somewhere Dorothy had never known about.
Welcome to the land of Oz.
The good witch of the north who saw her came and said,
Thanks to you, the evil witch of the east was crushed by your house. Here, wear these magic ruby slippers from the evil witch.
Dorothy said,
Thank you, but I just want to go back home. How can I do that?
Follow this yellow brick road to Emerald City. The Wizard of Oz there will help you.
The good witch replied. Dorothy and Toto then followed a road made out of yellow bricks. They met the Scarecrow, who was standing on a field.
I want a brain to think. Can you help me?
Come with me to Emerald City. The Wizard of Oz there will help you.
So the Scarecrow joined Dorothy. Next, they met the Tin Woodman. I can't stop crying because I want a heart, the Tin Woodman said, crying.
Come with us to Emerald City.
So the Tin Woodman joined Dorothy and the Scarecrow. They then met the Cowardly Lion.
I want the courage to fight back.
Come with us to Emerald City.
So the Cowardly Lion joined Dorothy, the Scarecrow, and the Tin Woodman. Finally, when Dorothy and her friends arrived at Emerald City, the Wizard of Oz was waiting for them. His giant face was floating in the air.
Please grant our wishes, Wizard of Oz.
You must first kill the evil witch of the West. Then I shall give you what you want,
replied the Wizard of Oz. The four friends set their way to kill the evil witch of the West. The evil witch of the West, who heard this, ordered her flying monkeys to go and capture Dorothy. Dorothy and her friends were sent to the evil witch. While they were fighting, Dorothy picked up a bucket of water and poured it on the witch.
I hate water.
The evil witch slowly melted down, and soon she was a puddle on the floor. The four went back to the Palace of Oz and asked the Wizard of Oz to give them their gifts. But then Toto knocked over a screen and revealed the wizard's real self, an ordinary man. The four friends were awfully disappointed. The man said, I'm sorry. However, I can still grant your wishes. He gifted the Scarecrow a brain made of pins and needles. put a silk heart into the Tin Woodman and gave the Cowardly Lion a magic potion that brings courage. Lastly, to Dorothy, he shared the secret of how to get back home.
Tap your slippers 3 times, Dorothy.
As soon as Dorothy tapped her ruby slippers 3 times, she was back home at her house with Toto. She would never forget her journey and her 3 new friends.
Fairy tale.
The 3 Billy Goats Gruff. Once upon a time, there were 3 Billy Goats Gruff. There was Little Billy Goat Gruff, Middle Billy Goat Gruff, and Big Billy Goat Gruff. They loved eating the green grass so much, they ate and ate all the grass on the hill.
Oh no! There is no grass on our hill anymore. Look! There's sweet green grass across from us.
Let's cross the bridge and go there. However, under the bridge, there was a big, fat, ugly troll waiting for the goats.
They look so delicious.
The 3 Billy Goats Gruff gathered and made a plan. First came Little Billy Goat Gruff. Trip, trap, trip, trap.
Roar!
The troll jumped out from under the bridge.
Who's that trip-trapping over my bridge?
Oh, it is I, Little Billy Goat Gruff.
I will eat you up.
No, wait! I'm too little. Middle Billy Goat Gruff is going to come. He is way bigger than me.
Fine. You may go.
So Little Billy Goat Gruff crossed the bridge. Next came Middle Billy Goat Gruff. Trip, trap, trip, trap.
Roar!
The troll jumped out from under the bridge.
Who's that trip-trapping over my bridge?
Oh, it is I, Middle Billy Goat Gruff.
I will eat you up.
No, wait, I'm too little. Big Billy Goat Gruff is going to come. He is way bigger than me.
Fine. You may go.
So Middle Billy Goat Gruff crossed the bridge. Lastly came Big Billy Goat Gruff. Trip, trap, trip, trap.
Roar!
The troll jumped out from under the bridge.
Who's that trip-trapping over my bridge?
It's me, Big Billy Goat Gruff.
I will eat you up.
No, you won't. The Big Billy Goat Gruff knocked the troll off the bridge with his strong horns. Splash!
Roar!
The troll floated far away and was never seen again. The 3 Billy Goats Gruff enjoyed the sweet green grass all day long.
Fairy tale. Heidi. There once was a girl named Heidi. who was raised by her aunt. One day, she was sent to her grandfather, who lived alone in the Alps. Even though they didn't have much, Heidi and her grandfather were happy together. Heidi became real good friends with Peter, a shepherd boy. Surrounded by beautiful nature, Heidi was always happy playing with goats and picking flowers. One day, her aunt returned to take Heidi back and then sent her to a wealthy family in a big city in Germany. Heidi didn't want to leave, but couldn't do anything to stop it. She was expected to make friends with a girl named Clara, who had been ill and couldn't walk. Heidi and Clara indeed became good friends. But Heidi missed everything about the Alps. She got homesick. Feeling sorry for her, Clara's dad sent Heidi back to the Alps. After a while, Clara visited Heidi with her grandma. Clara's grandma believed that it would be good for Clara to stay longer with Heidi in nature. Clara stayed and enjoyed her life in the Alps with Heidi. Peter got jealous of Clara and Heidi's friendship. So he threw Clara's wheelchair off a cliff. From then on, Heidi encouraged and helped Clara to practice walking by herself. Peter apologized and also helped Clara. Bit by bit, Clara's legs became stronger. One day, Clara's father came to see Clara. Upon seeing him, Clara started running toward him to greet him. Now Clara was a healthy girl. Clara's father wept out of pure joy. Heidi was just a little girl, but she made people happy with her love. A Christmas Carol. There once was a mean-spirited, miserable man named Ebenezer Scrooge. He was so greedy that he was spending Christmas Eve counting his money with his clerk, Bob Cratchit. Bob asked,
Sir, may I go home early today? My family is waiting.
Ha! No way! Sit down and work!
Scrooge replied. After a while, his nephew Fred visited him to invite him to a Christmas party. Later, two gentlemen dropped by his house to ask for a donation to charity. But all Grumpy Scrooge said back was,
Bah humbug!
That night,
Scrooge fell asleep alone at his house while counting his money. But then he woke up to the visit of the ghost of Christmas past. The ghost took Scrooge to when he was a lonely child. It also showed him when his fiancée Belle left him because of his greed for money.
Please stop showing me this.
Scrooge said, and he came back to his bed. Then the ghost of Christmas Present visited Scrooge. The ghost took him to Cratchit's family dinner. They were so happy, even when they were so poor and had a crippled son. Scrooge said,
How can they be happy when they don't have money?
After that, the ghost brought him to his nephew's Christmas party.
Merry Christmas! Oh, if only Uncle Scrooge was here with us.
Scrooge's heart was warmed. Scrooge came back to his bed. Finally, the ghost of Christmas yet to come led Scrooge to a scene of a man's death. The people at the funeral were talking.
Oh, I'm so happy that old greedy man died.
Me too. He's so unforgiving. I'm so happy. Scrooge asked the ghost who this dead man was, and the ghost took him to a graveyard. On the headstone of a grave was written Ebenezer Scrooge. Shocked by this, Scrooge shouted,
Please, give me a chance to change my fate.
Scrooge was back in his bed. Christmas Day came, and Scrooge was so happy he could change his fate. He sent a giant turkey to the Cratchit's house. He also went to Fred's Christmas party. He lived the rest of his life by giving back to the poor and treating others with kindness and warmth. Fairy tale.
Rumpelstiltskin. Long ago, in a small kingdom, there lived a miller and his beautiful daughter. On the street, the miller ran into the king. To buy the king's favor, he said, Your Highness, my daughter can spin straw into gold. The greedy king invited the daughter to his palace. He locked her into a chamber, saying,
Spin all the straw in this room into gold, or else you will die.
Oh no! What do I do?
The girl sobbed hopelessly. Just then, a little man appeared out of nowhere.
I can spin this straw into gold for you, but you must give me a gift.
I will give you my necklace.
Yippee!
The little man spun all the straw into gold and left. The greedy king saw this and locked the girl once more. He gave her more straw to spin this time. The girl was sobbing when the little man appeared again.
I can spin this straw into gold for you, but you must give me a gift.
I will give you my ring.
Yippee!
The girl gave him the ring, and the little man spun all the straw into gold again. The king who saw this was delighted, but growing greedier, he locked her up in a bigger room with more straw.
If you can spin all of this straw into gold again, I will make you my queen.
When the girl began to cry, the little man showed up and asked her for a gift.
But I have nothing left with me.
Then promise me to give me your firstborn child when you become queen.
I promise. So please, help me.
The little man did his job once more, and soon the king married the girl. After a while, she gave birth to her first child. The little man appeared to the queen to remind her of the promise.
I'm here to get your child. Give it to me.
Oh, please, let me keep my child.
Okay, fine. If you guess my name right in 3 days, I will break the promise.
The queen sent out all her messengers to get the little man's name. Even after 2 days passed, the queen still didn't know his name. But on the 3rd day, one of her messengers said, "Your Highness, I still don't know the name you need. But last night, I saw a man dancing around a fire singing a song. He said, 'Hocus pocus, dance and sing. First a necklace, then a ring. Riddles and magic are my game. Rumpelstiltskin is my name.'" When the man returned, he asked,
So, I bet you still don't know my name.
The queen said,
Your name is Rumpelstiltskin.
Ugh, I'm so mad! Ah!
The little man stumped his feet far into the ground with anger and was never found again. The queen and king lived with their child happily ever after.